Best family movies on Netflix.
Sounds like someone's trying to plan a family movie night.
Haha. Yeah, you got it. But there are just so many choices. Like, where do we even begin? We've got everything from animated classics like The Land of Time to new releases like the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Well, how about instead of just listing off a bunch of movies, we talk about some of the trends we're seeing? A lot of these articles are talking about how animated films are appealing to adults just as much as kids.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like the Lego movie, you wouldn't think a movie about building blocks would be so deep, but it really has some interesting themes in there.
Yeah. And the animation is incredible. I remember watching it and thinking, wow, this must have taken forever to make. Definitely not like those old Saturday morning cartoons.
Exactly. And that's something that's really changed in animation these days. It's become way more sophisticated visually, and the stories are more complex too. Spider-Man. Across the Spider-Verse is another great example. It's visually stunning, and the story is complex enough to keep adults engaged.
Oh, one article mentioned Rango. It's an animated Western with Johnny Depp voicing a chameleon who becomes sheriff. Sounds like a fun one.
Rango is a great example of a film that takes a familiar genre, like Westerns, and puts a fresh spin on it. And it's surprisingly witty. The humor works for both kids and adults.
So we've got visually stunning, witty. What other trends are we seeing?
Well, a lot of these articles are saying it's really important to have movies that spark conversations within families.
Okay.
Wonder, for example, is a really good one to watch with your kids because it deals with some tough topics like bullying and acceptance and empathy, and it does it in a really sensitive way.
That's a good point. Sometimes a movie can be more than just entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It can open up some really important conversations.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Wonder does that really well without, being too preachy or anything.
Exactly. It's a story that can stay with you for a long time after you watch it, and it can lead to some meaningful conversations. Speaking of inspiring conversations, have you heard of the YouTube channel Aftab Ashraf?
I don't think so. Tell me about it.
Well, they make family-friendly content that's both fun and educational. They have everything from science experiments to DIY projects to stories. It's really great.
Oh, nice. I'm always looking for good YouTube channels for my family, so I'll definitely have to check out Aftab Ashraf. Thanks for the tip. Now, back to these movies. I'm seeing a lot of heartwarming pics here, like Paddington. That little bear is just adorable.
Yeah, Paddington is a perfect example of a movie that's both heartwarming and hilarious. It's a classic fish out of water story. It has a lot of heart, some really funny moments, and it reminds us that even in a big city, there's always room for kindness.
I love that message. So we've got heartwarming, we've got visually stunning, we've got witty. Anything else jumping out at you from these articles?
One thing that struck me is how many of these movies are reboots or sequels of older films.
Oh, interesting.
Like Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. It's a sequel to the stop-motion animation Chicken Run, and it looks hilarious.
I loved the original Chicken Run, so I'm definitely adding Dawn of the Nugget to my list. It seems like a lot of studios are realizing that there's a lot of potential in revisiting those classic stories for a new generation.
Absolutely. And sometimes those reboots and sequels are even better than the originals. They build on what worked in the past, but also bring something new to the table.
It sounds like we've got a lot of great options to choose from for family movie night.
We do. And each one offers something a little bit different, whether it's the animation, the characters, or the themes.
I'm already feeling more confident about picking a movie for tonight thanks to this deep dive. Should we keep going and see what else these articles have to offer?
Sounds good to me. One thing that stood out to me was how much these articles talked about the impact these movies have had on, popular culture.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, for example, Shrek. It wasn't just a hit movie, it also was a really successful Broadway show. Pretty impressive for a movie about an ogre.
Shrek on Broadway. That's wild.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that.
It just goes to show how some characters and stories can really, grab people's attention and transcend different mediums.
Yeah, it makes me think of all the little details and catchphrases from movies that end up in our everyday conversations.
Oh, yeah.
I still quote The Princess Bride all the time. Inconceivable.
Exactly. Those little moments can stick with you, become part of your family's inside jokes. One article even mentioned a scene from Big Fat Liar called the Blue Marty Wolf moment. It's this crazy visual gag where someone turns completely blue.
Oh, you have to see that. It sounds hilarious.
It's ridiculous in the best way possible. Those are the kinds of things that make a movie memorable, give you something to talk about long after it's over.
Yeah, definitely. It's those moments of laughter, those little bits of wonder that really make family movie nights so special.
Great.
Speaking of wonder, one article mentioned a movie called Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, it's a real gem. It's a stop-motion animation film about, a tiny shell. He goes on this big adventure to try and find his family.
I love stop-motion animation. It's so charming. And Marcel is such a cute character.
He is.
It's surprisingly emotional, too.
It is. It deals with some heavy stuff like loss and family and resilience, but it does it in a really heartwarming and thought-provoking way. And it proves you don't need a huge budget or fancy CGI to make a truly moving film.
Totally. I love a good heartwarming movie, but sometimes you just need a good laugh. One article recommended The Mitchells versus the Machines. They said it was hilarious and action-packed.
The Mitchells versus the Machines is a great example of a movie that can appeal to everyone. It's got the slapstick humor for the kids and some clever satire for the adults.
Plus, robot apocalypse. Always a fun time.
It is. And it's funny and heartwarming all at the same time.
I like that.
Like how we talked about Chicken Run. Dawn of the Nugget earlier. The Mitchells versus the Machines shows how studios are finding new ways to, blend genres and appeal to a wider audience.
It's like they're trying everything to see what works, but in a good way.
Right.
Seems like there's a lot of experimentation happening in family films right now.
There is, and it's exciting. It means there are more options than ever before for families to find something they can all enjoy together.
Yeah, looking back at all the movies we've talked about, it's amazing how much variety there is. We've got everything. Classic animated films, live-action comedies, superhero adventures. It's awesome to think that all of this is available thanks to streaming services like Netflix.
It really is, and with so many choices, it can be hard to pick just one movie for family movie night.
That's true. So how do we decide? What should families think about when they're picking a movie?
Well, first, think about what your family likes to watch. Are you feeling something funny, adventurous, heartwarming?
Right, that's a good starting point. And maybe consider the age of your kids, too. Some movies are better for younger viewers. Others might be more for teens or adults.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot where everyone will enjoy the movie. And don't forget the snacks. No family movie night is complete without popcorn, candy, maybe some pizza.
Absolutely. Snacks are essential.
Right. It's all about creating a fun, relaxed atmosphere.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of movies. Is there anything you'd say is a must-see for family movie night?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So many good options, but if I had to pick one, I'd go with the Lego Movie. It's funny, visually amazing, and it has a heartwarming message about family and imagination.
That's a great choice. I think everyone in the family can enjoy it.
Exactly. It's a movie that can start conversations, inspire some creativity, maybe even get you building something together.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, the Lego Movie at the top of our list. Any other recommendations?
Well, if you're in the mood for something more classic, I'd recommend The Land Before Time. It's a timeless story about friendship, loss, resilience, and the animation still holds up, even after all these years.
The Land Before Time always makes me emotional. It's a classic for a reason.
It is. And it can help kids understand and process some tough emotions, in a safe and relatable way.
Yeah. So we've got the Lego Movie for laughs and imagination, The Land Before Time for heartwarming feels. What about if we want something more action-packed?
Well, if you're looking for adventure, you can't go wrong with Spider-Man. Across the Spider-Verse, it's visually stunning, the action is amazing, and the story is surprisingly complex.
I've heard great things about the animation in Spider-Man. Across the Spider-Verse. It's supposed to be really unique.
It is. It's like a comic book come to life. And the story explores some important ideas about identity, responsibility, family, and it does it in a way that's relatable and inspiring.
Okay, I'm convinced. Spider-Man. Across the Spider-Verse it is. Going back to those articles, I noticed a lot of them mention new releases, like the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Seems like family films are making a comeback.
What's interesting is how these films work for different generations. It's not just for kids, but for the parents who grew up with these characters and stories, too.
Right. Like, I can see myself enjoying the Lego Movie as much as my kids, maybe even more. And who knows, maybe it'll inspire us to build something together, and that's a win-win.
Exactly. Family movie night can be a starting point for all kinds of things. Activities, conversations, creative projects. It's a chance to unplug, connect, and make some memories.
And with so many great movies on Netflix, there's really no reason not to have a family movie night soon.
So, what will you be watching? We want to hear your thoughts, maybe even get some recommendations for our next deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment below.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, happy watching.